Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Touch 'em All presented by Sports Map Elite for Tuesday, August 30th, 2022. Winding down on the month of August here. Been a little bit of a rough week for my picks over the last week or so, but we are looking forward to getting back on the win column today. Hopefully, I've got a six-pack of picks on the games today. I'll be going game by game through them, and I will give those out along the way. But looking forward to diving through it. Sports Map Elite, has been an awesome opportunity for a lot of us, and we're, it's really an exciting platform. So, feel free to, go ahead and follow the various folks who we've got over there. I know, Joe Spano's been killing it on baseball. He's got a ton of good content coming out with NFL. BC as well, BC and Houston on Twitter. He's been doing an awesome job as well. He normally joins me for this show. You can get his handle at the bottom of the screen here at BC_Houston1. He's got a ton of good content coming out as we get into football season, as well as Fred Fowler and Michael Abel and the rest of the team. A lot of exciting stuff to come, a lot of which we'll talk about as the week goes along. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into today's schedule first of events on the baseball calendar. First game on the betting board is going to be 9-5-1 St. Louis Cardinals at 9-5-2 Cincinnati Reds. That's a game that's going to start at 6:40 p.m. On the East Coast here. Reds are big underdogs at home here, plus 180. It's going to be Justin Dunn on the bump for Cincinnati against Dakota, not Daniel, Dakota Hudson for St. Louis. Over under 10, high total. And, to me, it makes sense. You're looking at these two starting pitchers. Dakota Hudson's, you look at his baseball savant stats, a lot of the advanced stuff on him, and it's really not pretty. His expected ERA for the season is well over 5. He is still somehow due negative regression, despite the fact that he's really hasn't been that great throughout the season. You look what he typically does. His last 6 starts are all somewhere between 2 and 4 earned runs, 4 to 7 innings. Bit of a wide range, but I say all that to say that he's typically a guy that you kind of know what you're going to get. You expect somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 runs to be allowed, maybe 5 or 6 innings. You look at his 2 starts against Cincinnati this year, 13 and 2/3, 6 earned. So, just fine, nothing crazy. Dominated them back in April and got hit hard by them in June. My expectations for him today are not particularly high, but Cincinnati's not really a world-beating lineup by any means. Dakota Hudson does have an ERA over 5 on the road this year. That's a far cry from what he's done at home. So, good spot maybe for Cincinnati's offense to get going a little bit as an underdog. Problem is, I look at the flip side. You look at Justin Dunn. He's made 4 starts as a Cincinnati Red since returning from injury. The last 2 were a lot better than the first 2. He has started to look a little bit better in terms of results. 11 innings and 3 runs in his last 2 starts. The problem I'm having is that walks are still a big issue for him. He's walked 6 batters in those 11 innings. And you look at his expected ERA, still up around 7 through the 4 starts. So tells me he's getting a little bit lucky on contact. A lot of these walks that he's giving up are not necessarily coming back to bite him in the butt the way you might expect. And then, big problem for him is St. Louis here. Cardinals offense has been number 1 in WRC plus against right-handed pitching in the month of August. Cincinnati's 28th in that category. So while I'm not super confident in either starting pitcher, I still give St. Louis a pretty significant advantage here. You look at yesterday too, Cincinnati allowing 13 runs to St. Louis. They had to use a ton of pitching in that game. Definitely another big advantage for the Cardinals, who frankly still have a lot more to play for as well. So, I think everything here checks out to me. I think the high total around 10 with these 2 starters makes sense. I make the Cardinals a big favorite as well. No real value to speak of here. Should be a lot of runs. Should be some fireworks. Next game's a doozy. The Dodgers and Mets are starting a series from New York. I know fans of both these teams are kind of excited to see how these games go, see how the teams stack up. Should be a pretty raucous environment at Citi Field the next few days. Tonight's matchup is going to be Andrew Heaney and Taijuan Walker on the mound. Dodgers minus 145 favorites. That's moved up a little bit from where they were last night. They were around minus 130 last night. And I went ahead and I gave it out last night at Dodgers first 5 innings, minus 130. I don't know if that number is still available anywhere, but I do like it quite a bit. Kind of walking through why the Mets, obviously both these teams have great offenses. They're both having great seasons. But the Mets have actually struggled quite a bit against lefties of late. They're 24th in the league in WRC plus against left-handed pitching in August. WRC plus of 83 puts them 17% below average. And then you look at the flip side with the Dodgers taking on Taijuan Walker. The Dodgers absolutely crush right-handed pitching, and they have a history actually of hitting Taijuan Walker fairly well. LA also rested a lot of guys yesterday in their series capper at Miami. Mookie Betts didn't play. Gavin Lux didn't play. They called up Michael Grove for a spot start and didn't throw any of their main bullpen arms. So the Dodgers are pretty well loaded up for this series. Obviously the Mets had a day off, so they'll be ready to go as well. I look at Andrew Heaney. He's allowed a lot of hard contact this year, but he's got a ridiculous strikeout rate. He's striking out like upwards of 12 batters per nine. It's been pretty ridiculous. He's got a really low expected batting average against as well. He is due for some negative regression, especially with his contact profile, but he has been above average still. Even with his expected, you're looking at, low threes. I think it's around 3.16, which is kind of where his August has been. He's got a 3.22 ERA in August. He's been very solid, but not spectacular. I think that's about what the expectation should be for him in his current form. But I think the Dodgers are just in better shape against Taijuan Walker. This is a guy they've seen a million times. Dodgers are really comfortable against right-handed pitching. They have been for years. And he's really due negative regression. His season ERA is in the low threes, but the expected is well over 4. And you look at some of his recent matchups when he's taken on strong offenses. He blew up earlier this month against Atlanta. He left a start early, 2 starts go after 2 innings. So there might be some concern with them playing it cautious with him with injury. Dodgers have also already seen him this year. 7 hits in about 5 innings, 2 earned. So nothing crazy. I also give the Dodgers a big bullpen advantage here. They've been a lot better coming out of the bullpen than the Mets have. Number 2 against number 19 in that category. Dodgers with a 2.35 bullpen ERA in the month of August. I like the Dodgers in the first 5 innings at minus 130. I know my partner BC likes them up to minus 145 in the first 5 innings. I agree with that as well. I think this is a spot where the Dodgers might flex their muscle a little bit, and just the platoon matchup really leans their way. So Dodgers first 5 is going to be the bet there. Next matchup, we've got a much more lopsided one in Atlanta tonight. 9:55 Colorado Rockies, 9:56 Atlanta Braves doing battle at Truist Park. That's going to be a 7:20 p.m. first pitch on the East Coast. Braves minus 370 favorites in this one, over under 8.5. It's hard to target a side with numbers like this. You could really only look to Colorado, but I'm not interested in doing that. Jose Urena, the starter for Colorado tonight, has been absolutely awful. This is a guy who's allowed 21 earned runs in August in 24 innings of work. And that's not exactly against great competition either. He's taken on San Diego, Arizona, Texas, and San Francisco this month. So San Diego's a pretty good lineup, but other than that, it's been really bad. His last outing, he allowed 9 earned and 1 1/3. Baseball Savant agrees that he's terrible. His expected ERA is up around 5.5. You look since the All-Star break, 9.19. In August, he's in the ERA right around 8. In the first inning of ball games, he allows an ERA of 9. Second inning, 9.64. So what that tells me is it doesn't take teams long to figure him out and get after him. That especially makes me like what I've got here, which is Atlanta first 5 team total over 2.5. I don't think it's going to take the Braves long to get their offense going, especially against Jose Urena. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 3 runs in the first inning here. So I really like this quite a bit. Quick look at the other side with Max Fried. Obviously, he's having a dominant season. His outing at Colorado earlier this year was one of the more impressive we've seen from any starting pitcher, throwing 8 innings scoreless on the road at Coors Field. That was back on June 3rd. He's posted ERAs under 2.20 in each of June, July, and August. So he's just really been a model of consistency. He's been really good at home, a little bit under 2.5. ERA of 1.13 in the first inning, 2.25 in the second inning. I love Atlanta here. Team total in the first 5 innings over 2.5 to get after Jose Urena. I wish there was some way to find value in Atlanta. I'm just not seeing it. Even if you wanted to lay the run line with them, that comes in at minus 160. I don't really want to go there, but I think we know Atlanta is going to score and probably score early in this game. 9:57 Pittsburgh Pirates at 9:58 Milwaukee Brewers. This should be it's Mitch Keller and Jason Alexander. So neither one of these starting pitchers really inspire a ton of confidence. We've got the Brewers at a minus 184 favorite, Pirates plus 164 on the road, over under 9 here. Um, I think for Jason Alexander, this is a guy who was in the rotation earlier this season, got pulled out of the rotation in mid-July, and hasn't thrown more than 3 innings in outing really since then. But he has been pretty good out of the bullpen, and I still think they're going to be looking for about 4 innings from him here, so it's not quite a bullpen game. Um, the baseball savant profile on him is pretty rough. He's been a lot better in short bursts than he has been when he's asked to start. So it's hard to have a ton of confidence in him here. He faced Pittsburgh once, through only 2 innings, allowed 2 earned runs. But this is not a Pittsburgh team that hits righties terribly well. They have a 78 WRC plus. That's 22% below average in the month of August against righties. Milwaukee right around average in this month against righties. They're taking on Mitch Keller. Keller's a guy that I had really started to believe in, and I don't think I was alone in that among people who bet on baseball. He had started to look really good through the month of July, but his last couple starts really haven't been very good. He's actually thrown 10 innings this season against Milwaukee, allowing 5 runs. All of that was back in April. But, I look ERA around 5.5 in August. Those last 2 starts, 5 2/3 innings, he's allowed 12 runs. That's with 5 walks, 12 hits. So I don't know what's going on with him. Seems like he's kind of lost whatever he had. I got to imagine Milwaukee gets after him a bit here. If anything on this game, I think a Milwaukee team total over might be the look. But Mitch Keller is talented, and Pittsburgh can be a plucky team. I'm just, to me, I don't really care to back Jason Alexander. Pittsburgh's bullpen has actually been better than Milwaukee's in August as well. So just a stay away spot for me. I might lean toward a Brewers team total over, but not really trying to mess with it. Next game we've got here is going to be Pittsburgh, or excuse me, not Pittsburgh. We've got Philadelphia and Arizona, 959, 960. It's going to be Aaron Nola on the bump for the Phillies, taking on Zach Gallen for the Diamondbacks. Phillies small favorites here, minus 130. Arizona plus 111 at home, over under 7 runs. It's an appropriately low total given the way these two starting pitchers have gone recently. I really like the Nerfy here. No runs in the first inning. I got that at minus 135. I'd probably play that up to about minus 145. Just kind of looking at two sides of it, Aaron Nola is having just another really good season. He's doing really what we've gotten used to him doing through his career. He's prone to the occasional rough outing. You look at what he's done recently; it's been a little weird, right? Like he'll randomly give up 5 runs and then go 0 runs and 3 at the other 3 out of 4. But overall, it's really good. ERA of 2.13 on the road. He likes pitching away from Philadelphia. 1.80 in the first inning, 0.36 in the second inning. So he's strong the first time through a lineup. And since the All-Star break, he's got an ERA well under 3 as well. So I think there's a lot to like with Aaron Nola. It's a Diamondbacks lineup that's better than people think, especially with the call of Corbin Carroll. But it's still not a lineup that's going to strike a ton of fear into you. I look at the flip side with Zach Gallen. This dude is on just an insane run. He has thrown 27 1/3 scoreless innings consecutively over his last 4 starts. Hasn't given up a run since, I think, like August 5th. His last start when he faced Philadelphia, though, back in June, was a bit of a disaster. So something to note there. Last night's game between these two teams was insane. It was like 13. It was 12-7 in the 5th inning when I was writing my notes down. I think it finished maybe at 13-7. Just a ridiculous game in that one. But, this is not totally new to see Zach Gallen go into like full-on ace mode like this. He's done it at times in the past, and I've certainly made money in the past riding the wave when he's had those types of moments. I look at, I think, it's just really hard for me to find a way to not bet the Nerfy here, especially when I look at what each starter's done. Gallen in the first inning of games is an ERA of 1.5. You look at Nola, we talked about it. His ERA, the first start through the lineup's immaculate. I just really like it here. So I think I will say I'd shy away from a full game under just because these two offenses have been playing pretty well. And I don't know what's going to happen once they get through the lineup once. But first time through, you got to like a Nerfy. 961, we've got the San Diego Padres and the San Francisco Giants, 962, taking on taking this game in from Oracle Park in San Francisco, over under 7.5. Padres small favorites -125. Blake Snell and Logan Webb is a pitching matchup that to me looks a lot different now than it might have a few weeks or a few months ago. Blake Snell has gotten into a really nice rhythm since the All-Star break. He was, suddenly hit hard in his last 2 starts, which is worth monitoring. Eight and a third innings, 9 earned against Cleveland and Washington. Not exactly 2 of the best offenses in baseball. But the reason I remain encouraged by him, he's still keeping the number of walks he's allowing way down. Only 2 walks over those last 2 starts combined. And when he's not walking people, he's usually pretty dominant. His expected ERA is around 3.3 on the season. His season longs around 4.2. So I'm still expecting more positive regression for him. He's pitched well against San Francisco this season, 11 2/3. He's allowed 2 earned runs. And it's a really good pitching environment when you're pitching on the road in San Francisco as well. So I think it's a good spot for him to come out and have a good start against a Giants team that's frankly really struggling. The Giants were swept by Minnesota over the weekend. I actually don't know how their game finished out last night. I know they were up. I know they were down 6-5 late in that one. I actually need to probably check and see if Josh Hader came in and blew that one again. But I think San Diego's in a good spot to win this game. Logan Webb has basically regressed back to a completely average pitcher. You look at his Baseball Savant page, he doesn't look a whole lot different than like a Kyle Gibson to me at this point. You look what he's done since the All-Star break, 4.75 ERA over that span. He's allowed 11 runs in his last 9 1/3 over his last 2 starts. He has dominated San Diego this year. He threw 8 innings against them in each of his 2 starts, 2 earned runs total. But you look at San Diego, their offense has improved quite a bit since then. They haven't seen Logan Webb in about 2 months. They've obviously added Brandon Drury, Josh Bell, Juan Soto. They're a lot of people have been kind of down on them because they've been losing a lot of games, but the offense hasn't been a problem. They're 4th in the league against righties in WRC plus at 116, 16% above average. Their bullpen's 4th in the league in August as well. So it's really been a pretty well-rounded team when Josh Hader isn't coming in and blowing a game. So I think the Padres are the much better side here. I make them a bigger favorite than -125. I grabbed them -120 last night. I'd probably play them up to -135. I think they should be a much bigger favorite the way Logan Webb has looked, giving up 6 runs to the Tigers in his last start. I mean, if anything's a signal of where Logan Webb's at right now, that would be it. So Padres playing better ball, a lot more to play for. I like San Diego on the road to get it done. Next game, we're heading to Cleveland. We've got the O's and the Guardians, 9-6-3, 9-6-4. That's going to be Spencer Watkins and Cal Quantrill on the mound in that one. Quantrill and the Guardians, -151 favorites. O's +131, over under 8. This is a matchup between 2 starting pitchers who kind of mirror one another in a way. I think there's a general idea out there that Cal Quantrill is the better of these two, and that's what the line says as well. I'm just not there. You look at what Spencer Watkins has done. He was terrible early in the season. He had a 10.13 ERA when he was sent down in, I think it was right around late May. He got called back up on June 25th. He's thrown 54 innings since then. He's got a 2.83 ERA over that span. He's been really, really good. You look what he's done just even since the start of July, since the start of August. All the splits on him are really strong. My one concern with him, first inning ERA 6.19, so this is not a nerfy spot. It's not a Baltimore to score a first spot, but I do like Baltimore plus half a run over the first 5 innings. Reason being, Baltimore's been better against right-handed pitching, 7th versus Cleveland, 22nd against righties in the month of the month of August in WRC plus. We get to avoid the Cleveland bullpen that ranks number 1 in baseball this month. And the flip side with Quantrill, he's actually due quite a bit of negative regression. He's moving in the opposite direction of Watkins. His expected ERA is up around 4.5. He has pitched well of late, and it's not necessarily a straight fade of him. He's allowed no earned in 3 of his last 4. But you look what he's done throughout the second half otherwise. It just hasn't really been pretty. And this Baltimore offense is one of the tougher offenses to take on in the American League right now as a right-handed pitcher, as crazy as that sounds. So I think Baltimore, I don't find a whole lot of separation between these two starters. I give Baltimore the advantage in terms of their ability to hit right-handed pitching. So to me, I would make this game at pick 'em at least through the first five. I might make the Guardians a small favorite on the full game, but being able to catch that half run with Baltimore in the first five, I got it at minus 114. I think it's still available right around that number. I think it's great value. I feel like you're getting pretty much a free half run with a team that should be about to pick 'em in the first five. So give me the O's first five on the run line. Next up, we've got the Mariners and the Tigers. That's going to be 965, 966. Good pitching matchup between a couple tall young righties here. George Kirby, Matt Manning going at it in this one. Kirby 3.32 on the season, Manning 2.37. So solid stats overall for both these guys. Obviously, George Kirby in his last start, I think he set a record with 24 consecutive strikes to start the game. So pretty cool to see there. Over under 7.5. I think it's an appropriately low total. I might even make it lower. I don't have an official game on the official bet on the game here. I would certainly lean to the under. You look at Matt Manning; he's having a bit of a breakout, really, since his call up back at the beginning of August. He's made 5 starts. 3 of them were absolutely dominant. The other 2 were just okay. You look at his last 2, though: 13 innings, 1 earned run. So really good his last couple times out. Of course, that's against San Francisco and Anaheim. Not exactly 2 banner offenses, but we'll see what we get from him. My concern with him is that some of the tougher offenses he's faced, Minnesota and the White Sox come to mind, have actually hit him a bit. And this is not an easy assignment for him today against a Seattle team that is playing pretty well. They just took 2 out of 3 from Cleveland over the weekend. On the flip side, looking at George Kirby, all this guy does is throw strikes. We talked about the record with 24 consecutive strikes to start the game. He's pitched to a 2.59 ERA in August, 2.21 in July. So we're looking at 2 months now of consistently really good pitching for him. He's allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in 7 of his last 8 starts, 29 strikeouts and 2 walks in August. So he's really been dominant over the last month. I think Seattle minus 168 or minus 170, wherever you see him, I think that's an appropriate line. Kirby has been a little bit better than Matt Manning. Seattle certainly has the better lineup against right-handed pitching. And Seattle's got the better bullpen by a wide margin. If you look at it in the month of August, Seattle ranks 3rd, Detroit 27th in ERA. So, I'm not really seeing any value here. I think it's lined about right. I think the over-under is about right. If you put a gun on my head and made me play the game, I'd probably play an under. Next game, we are heading into Minnesota, where it's going to be the Boston Red Sox and Minnesota Twins. Cutter Crawford and Chris Archer on the mound in this one. Over under 9. Twins a small favorite, showing them around minus 130. This is a matchup between 2 starting pitchers that I think are pretty lackluster. Cutter Crawford, he's below average across his baseball savant page, not terribly impressive. His ERA in August is around 7.5. You look what he's done his last 2 starts: 13 earned runs on 21 hits. That's over just 8 innings. So, he's just really getting knocked around the yard. That was against, Baltimore and Toronto. Twins offense is pretty good against right-handed pitching. They rank 11th in that category in the month of August. They're playing pretty decent baseball. They've won 4 in a row. They swept the Giants over the weekend, won the game last night. Nice comeback over Boston for them. Cutter Crawford also did face the Twins in April and got absolutely crushed. 4 earned runs in just an inning and 2/3 of work. His ERA is about 6.5 on the road this year. I say all of this to say I don't think Minnesota is going to have a whole lot of problem hitting Cutter Crawford. I look at the flip side with Chris Archer. He's been somewhat similarly underwhelming. His expected ERA is about 4 3/4. Really below average across baseball savant. His last start against Houston was not pretty. Allowed 5 earned runs. But he was pretty decent in the 4 starts that preceded that, and he's actually been kind of okay since the All-Star break. I think the Twins here would be thrilled if they got 5 innings and 2 earned from Chris Archer. That seems to be kind of his ceiling. In general, I think this game leans over, especially at 9. I think that number might be a little bit too low. Haven't quite committed to playing it yet. I also lean Minnesota on the money line. I think Archer's in a little bit better form than Crawford. Boston's bullpen, by the way, is the worst in baseball. It has been for the better part of the last 2 months. So you got to figure the Twins will probably add on late. So lean Minnesota, lean over. Feel free to check my Twitter throughout the day. I might play these, just not sure yet. Astros and Rangers 969 970 from Arlington today. Gosh, I really don't have any bets on this game. Pretty good pitching matchup. Two teams that are really familiar with each other. It's going to be Framber Valdez and Dane Dunning. Houston minus 168. I think that's about the right size favorite for them. Framber Valdez has obviously been incredible. He's put up a quality start every single start he's had since late April. 20 innings against Texas this year. He's only allowed one earned run. So really dominant in that matchup. You look at his August, he's got an ERA under 2, ERA under 2.3 on the road all season. What keeps me off Houston here is just what Texas has been doing to lefties of late. They have a WRC plus of 147, second best in baseball since August 1st against left-handed pitching. So it kind of just scares me off Houston just a little bit, just enough. Look at the flip side. Houston's been about average against righties in August. And Dunning's actually thrown pretty well against the Astros this year. 11 2/3, 2 earned against the Astros over 2 starts. Houston's not really playing great baseball right now either. They just lost 2 out of 3 to Baltimore at home. All those games stayed under, so the offense is not really popping off at the moment. Obviously, a good pitching environment in Texas. I think there's reason to lean under on this number, but I think 7.5 is it's adjusted downward enough. If I got an 8, I'd probably play it. Looking at Texas over the weekend, though, they just allowed 20 runs over 3 games to Detroit, lost 2 out of 3 there. It's just a spot where I don't think either team's playing all that well. I think both starting pitchers are somewhat well positioned to have a decent outing. Just don't have a great feel for it. I think the lines are about right. I do have action on this next one. Brady Singer and Lucas Giolito and the Royals and White Sox tonight. 971, 972 from Chicago. Over under 8 runs. White Sox a small favorite. I like Kansas City in the first 5 innings at plus 110. Brady Singer has been an absolute wagon recently. He's been a great pitcher to back. His baseball savant page hasn't really caught up to who he's been, since about July 1st. He threw ERA right around 2 in July, low 2s in August. He's faced the White Sox a bit this season. He's thrown 22 1/3 innings and only allowed 5 earned. So pretty good. That's an ERA of 2.01 in that matchup. 2 or fewer earned runs allowed in 7 of his last 8. So he's been remarkably consistent, and he's had some great outings against some pretty good teams. He dominated the Dodgers, pitched well against the Padres. It's a guy who I think you could feel really comfortable backing right now, especially early in games, right? I mean, he's got a 1.50 ERA in the first inning. Since the All-Star break, ERA under 2. I'm just seeing a lot of signs that point toward betting on Brady Singer here and getting a chance as a dog to do it. I can't pass it up. Flip side with Giolito, still do more than a run of positive regression, so that is one thing in his favor. His expected ERA is in the low 4s. His actual ERA is in the low 5s. But I just don't trust him. There hasn't been a single stretch this season where he's put together multiple good starts in a row. He did pitch really well in his last start against Baltimore. That's great. But the 2 starts before that against Houston and Detroit, he was hit really hard. He's faced Kansas City a bit this year, 10 innings, 4 earned, so nothing crazy to note there. But, I just look at the splits for him in general, and they're not encouraging. ERA over 5 in the first inning, ERA over 5 in the second inning, ERA of almost 7 on the season at home, and an ERA over 6 since the All-Star break. So, I mean, the outing at Baltimore was really impressive last time out, but I'm not seeing any reason to fully buy in yet. And I think Brady Singer right now is a guy who I really do want to buy in on. So I like the Royals as a dog in the first 5 here quite a bit. I got him at plus 110. I'd probably play him down to about plus 100. 4 more games to go through. Yankees are out west taking on the Anaheim Angels, notably not in Los Angeles or Los Angeles County tonight. They're playing down at Angel Stadium in the middle of a giant parking lot off the 5 freeway. That's going to be Jamison Tyone pitching for the Yankees against Mike Myers for the Angels. Yanks minus 168 favorites, over under 8.5. Look, it's just not a game I think I have a great feel for here. Anaheim is 20th against righties, which is a little better than they've been for most of the season in August. The Yankees are the worst team in baseball against right-handed pitching in the month of August, though. Obviously, I think That's probably not going to continue, but it's worth noting, and it makes the Yankees to me unbettable in a matchup like this, unless they were being offered at like a pick'em. Both bullpens have actually been pretty good recently. Um, Mike Myers was pretty good as a extended reliever. He's been okay as a starter so far. His ERA is around 3.5 in the month of August. So I don't think this is necessarily a guy that the Yankees are going to tee off on. I just think that the talent across the two rosters yields the Yankees as a favorite, like they are. I look at the flip side with Tyone. He did dominate Anaheim back in June. Granted, that was an Anaheim team that's playing a lot worse than they're playing now. But really, he's been a pedestrian starting pitcher all season. 5.04 ERA in July, 4.55 in August. Just a guy who I struggle to predict. His results vary quite a bit. So I think this game's super high variance. If you wanted to take a shot with Anaheim, I don't hate it. But the fact that Anaheim won last night, I struggled to see them doing it twice in a row. Aaron Judge is in one of those modes right now where he's homering every game. He just might carry them again tonight. I don't know. Not a game I'm very comfortable with. Next game is we're going in the interleague down in what they call the the Sunshine Series or the Citrus Series, something along those lines. The Rays and the Marlins tonight from Miami. Awesome pitching matchup here between two lefties, Shane McClanahan and Jesus Luzardo going at it. Rays are really big favorites. I was showing them around -225, -230. An appropriately low total of 6.5. It's really a matchup where you have to be looking at unders initially. And there is one bet on this game that it hadn't been put out last night when I was handicapping these games, but something that I might play here. I think both pitchers are going to throw well. Actually, I'm showing the total all the way down at 6 now, so pretty remarkable. I think both pitchers are going to throw well, but I think especially McClanahan. The problem is that Miami's first 5 team total is over under half a run. I was really wanting to get Miami team total in the first 5 under 1.5. They're the worst team in baseball against left-handed pitching, and it's not close. Their WRC plus against lefties in August is 49, so it's 51% below average. I think McClanahan absolutely carves them up, but I also think Luzardo throws well. He's been really good of late. He's got a 0.86 WHIP in the month of August. ERA around 2.5, 28 strikeouts, 7 walks over 30 innings this month. I don't think I have to tell you too much about Shane McClanahan. Obviously, this guy's a Cy Young candidate for a reason. He's just having a phenomenal season, although he has been a little bit more human since the All-Star break. It's a game where I would love to find unders. I would also, I'm implied by a nerfy of it. I know I'm interested in nerfy of it. I know BC reached out to me, letting me know that he's going to be on the no runs in the first inning there. It's sitting at -175. That's a little heavy for my liking, but I also understand the logic of getting after it. Some of his notes on it that are pretty convincing. These these pitchers are combined 26-8 to the no runs first inning. That's a 76.5% rate. -175 is an implied odds of about 64%. So there is an edge there. 12, but a little over 12% edge on that. So if you do like a nerfy at -175, I think it's a pretty good angle. I agree with BC there. I don't quite have it in me to play that tonight. But I think it's pretty good if you don't mind swallowing a little bit of juice. 977 Oakland A's, 978 Washington Nationals. This is one of our final 2 games tonight. I'll be honest with you. I handicapped the game as well as I could, but I just don't really want to get involved here. Game is lined around a pick 'em last I saw. I don't look. It's Eric Fetty and Cole Irvin. First look will make you lean toward Irvin because his numbers are better. He's had a pretty good year in terms of results, but his baseball savant page calls for a ton of negative regression. He has allowed 5 or more runs in 2 of his last 3. Really kind of mixed results, really mediocre over the month of August. Just not a guy who I'm excited to get behind. His ERA is almost 5 on the road, and that's before factoring in the negative regression coming to his way. His ERA over 6 in the first inning. Eric Fetty looks really bad across the board in Savant. Pretty similar overall mixed results for him. I don't show a big advantage for either starting pitcher. I look at how these lineups stack up. Washington, 23rd against lefties this month. Oakland, 21st against righties this month. Both bullpens rank between 15th and 17th in the league. So there's really not a big edge to be found here. You can maybe lean toward Washington with them playing at home, but this is not a game that I want to watch. Not a game I even really want to follow. I'll take a look at the box score after the fact. Last game tonight is going to be the Cubs and the Blue Jays from Toronto. It's going to be Marcus Stroman on the mound for Chicago against Kevin Gausman on the mound for Toronto. Toronto, big favorites, over under 8. Looking at Marcus Stroman, the baseball savant numbers for him have been ugly all year, and he's really regressed backward in August. He had a phenomenal July, had a lot of people buying in on him. He just hasn't had it, recently. You look what he did in his last start, 5 runs on 11 hits in that start against St. Louis. He's allowed 4 or more in 3 of his last 4, so he's getting hit around quite a bit. Toronto's a lineup that we know can get after a right-handed pitcher, especially at home. So I don't have any interest in backing Marcus Stroman, not at plus 180 or any number really here. I look at the flip side with Kevin Gausman. Obviously, he's had a pretty good season overall. Baseball Savant says he's slightly above average. He's been really just boom or bust of late, though, and I don't like getting involved with a guy like that. Boston got to him quite a bit in his last start. He hasn't allowed a run in 3 of his last 6, so that's really impressive at face value. The problem is the other 3 of his last 6, he's allowed 3, 4 or more earned runs. So super boomer bust, super high variance. I'm not interested in a pitcher who's high variance to minus 200. I don't really want to go there. I think Toronto is certainly the better offense, but both these teams have been right around the middle of the pack against righties in the month of August. Bullpen advantage certainly goes to Toronto. I think that's built into the line. I just don't really have a side here. I think it's, Toronto probably wins the game, but I don't trust Kevin Gausman right now with the way he's looked. So looking through the full slate of games today and the bets that I've got, I might add a couple things on Twitter. I'm interested in that over in Boston and Minnesota. I may end up joining BC on the Nerfy in Miami and Tampa if I have the wherewithal to handle minus 175 juice on that. My bets on today, I like the Dodgers in the first 5 innings, got that at minus 130 and posted that last night. I like Atlanta's first 5 team total over 2.5. I'm showing that at minus 135. Philly and Arizona, riding the Nerfy there at minus 135. I think Gallen and Nola will get it done. I like the Padres, full game money line, minus 120. I think they've got several advantages in that game. Baltimore, first 5 innings plus half a run. Spencer Watkins continues to provide value as he's been better than he's understood to be. I like Kansas City in the first 5, backing Brady Singer as underdog plus 110. BC is joining me on the Nerfy that I've got on Philly and Arizona. He's also joining me on the Dodgers in the first 5. And like I said, he's also tossing in a Nerfy on that Tampa-Miami game between Luzardo and McClanahan. That Nerfy coming in at minus 175. Feel free to reach out to me on Twitter with any thoughts, any questions. If you want to yell at me for a few losing days I've had recently, totally get that as well. Love hearing from folks. So appreciate y'all's time as always. It's been a lot of fun. We will be back in some form Thursday and beyond. We will let you know what that looks like before that time comes. We've got a lot of exciting stuff coming down the pipe. But appreciate y'all's support and commitment through this, and we're looking forward to talking with you soon. Thanks so much. Have a good day.